Hello there, Professor Gonzalez. My name is Mohd Kabir, and here is my PowerPoint for our class. So, the chapter 1, it's Introduction to the Management of Information Security. The main takeaways are the CIA triad, which is the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Uh, the management must be informed about the decisions about the information security, especially because how it affects people, the applications, the data, and the information system. Uh, there is attacks on the company uh, that people try to damage or steal organizations' information or physical assets. So that's why planning is really important because it develops, create, and implements strategies for the accomplishment of the objectives. Chapter 2 is compliance, law, and ethics. So, ethics is a socially accepted behavior, and the difference between ethics and law is laws bear the sanctioning of the government and authority, and ethics don't. Organizations should formulate policies, and policies must be understood by the employer. So, every single employee working in the company uh, should know the policies. Uh, Another thing we learned is the US copyright law, which means nobody can publish or reproduce work without the owner's permission. In chapter 3, it's governance of strategic planning for security. Documentation is really important because it is good because when we develop a plan, we can document it the way we can see the values, vision, missions, and strategy. Security is the minimum baseline. It is really important. It creates and maintains the organization structure. SDLC, which stands for System Development Lifecycle, we can use this to identify threats and risk and design and implement specific ideas to protect the organizations. Chapter 4 is the information security policy, which means every organization needs policy. It enhances the infosec of an organization information asset, although it can be difficult to implement. Uh, some employees might not agree, so it can be really hard to implement. Policies must never conflict with the law and make sure there are individuals held responsible for implementing, which means there should be some employees that should be held responsible for implementing them. Policies must be written for it to be effective. Um, they need to make a policy, like they need to write it down and post it everywhere, or like email it to every employee, or like have a meeting that each employee in the company reads it and they must understand it. Chapter 5 is developing the security program. InfoSec program is a structure in an organization. InfoSec functions are performed by groups of staff. InfoSec positions must be classified, which means someone has to define, someone has to build it, and someone has to administer it at all times. The SATA program is designed to reduce the incidence of accidental security breaches. Um, it is good because it can hold employees accountable for their actions. So if they do something bad, like leak data or steal something, we can hold them accountable for it. A security awareness program should be known to every employee in the organization. Chapter 6 is risk management, identifying and assessing risk. Every organization should have risk management. The risk management team should be the upper management team and the InfoSec group. Um, it goes over how to protect the company if something goes wrong. They also go over what's good or bad for the company and how the company can protect itself from loss or embarrassment. All employees should be taught about risk identification. If they think it can cause damage, they need to report it to the upper management. Every employee in the company, if they think something can be harmful to the company, they really need to let the upper management know. Chapter 7 is risk management, controlling risk. Um, there are 5 control strategies. It's defense, transference, mitigation, acceptance, and termination. CBA, cost benefit analysis. It'll help us determine if it's worth or loss, if there is an alternative that is better for the company and can save the company money. Risk appetite can define the risk the company is willing to accept. It taking a certain risk sometimes can be bad for the company at a certain time, but if they think that a risk is good for the company, then it's really up to them. And chapter 8, which is security management models, main things are framework is the outline of a blueprint. A lot of service organizations offer security model known as framework. The access control regulates the employee's access of organization's network and usually help with identification, authorization, and accountability. Security architecture model helps organization with quick improvement. Uh, it gives security procedures to the organizations. In chapter 9, it's security management practices. The main takeaways are benchmarking is following the existing practice in the organization, also known as business practice or best practice. Baseline is the foundation for benchmarking. It can compare changes, and there are 3 types of InfoSec performance measurement. First, how it will be measured. Second, authorization of IT system. And third is certification. Chapter 10 is planning for contingency. Always plan for unexpected events. You never know what could go wrong, so always expect the unexpected. Um, you never know if something could go wrong. Like, there are certain times that everything's going good and out of nowhere it could go really bad. Organization should have contingency plan, which is to plan how to deal with something if something goes wrong. And the plan must be approved by the member of the organization and supported by the business community of interest. They must come up with scenario. They need to find out what to do before, during, and after. Chapter 11 is personnel and security. It is important to know who you should hire. There are certain employees who will get hired and they will steal all of your data, and it can be bad for the company. So certification isn't the only thing you should check. The main thing that you should check is the work experience. It is preferred that you keep your resume simple and standard. A lot of organizations also look for info security professional from college with certificates. For example, Rowan, if we get the cybersecurity concentration, it can make us look good on our resume. Make sure you don't give private information to temporary employees who can breach the company's data, which is really important. And finally, the last chapter, chapter 12, is protection mechanisms. It is suggested that companies use strong authentications. Identification, authentication, and authorization is really important. Every company should use the firewall. It is really recommended. It can prevent data leaks to the outside world. Encryption and public key infrastructure is also really useful. They can keep secret data without it being leaked. And the works cited is our textbook. Thank you, Professor Gonzalez.